Easy, easy. Did you keep your gym bag? Is that your gym bag or something? Hello, folks. Welcome to the Weekly Rant.
If we don't have free speech, then we just don't have a free country.
The point I'm making is this. Stephen King did kill John Lennon. If you don't care about that, you deserve an asteroid to end you. Because really, it's worse than death living like that. Oh, well, Stephen King gets to kill John Lennon and get away with it because we're pussies. I'd rather see you all dead from a meteorite than live like that.
Wouldn't it be crazy? Wouldn't it be crazy?
Bazinga, motherfucker! Did you hear the news or what? Bazinga, motherfucker! Did you hear the news or what?
How's my hair? Okay. Hello, folks. It's me. That guy who yells at his phone for a living after reading posts on Reddit, which literally any other person could read. I know a lot of you enjoy getting your daily news from my channel, but I would be remiss if I did not insist. I'm not a journalist. Just not a journalist. I'm just a guy. Having said that, it's not our fault that sometimes we accidentally do journalism better than multi-million-dollar politically funded conglomerates, of which we have zero affiliation. Hey, Don Lemon, you suck. Now, let's move into some news, shall we? Shall we? Shall we? On Thursday, April 10th, tragedy struck the Hudson River in New York City. And no, there was no pilot by the name of Sully to save the day. Sadly, an entire family was wiped out after a helicopter plunged from the sky directly into the Hudson River. I don't know if you guys noticed, but the entire main rotor detached from the helicopter. Yeah, that's not normal. That's not supposed to happen. Furthermore, according to the company which provides aerial tours of the city, the helicopter was not equipped with any recording devices. No video records, no black box, just nothing. So that's, I think the one word I would use for that is convenient. Here's a message I received from a retired Air Force vet regarding this crash. Never in his life has he seen a helicopter fall out of the sky in the way that helicopter fell out of the sky, containing the CEO of Siemens. Yes, by the way, the father and husband of the family who perished involved in the crash was a C-level executive from the company Siemens. You know, that company that dabbles in nanotechnology over in Britain, infrastructure projects in India. Oh, and don't forget about their recent massive deal with Turkish Railways, which actually had a pretty interesting stipulation hidden in there, if you care to take a look. Government officials and authorities have assured the public that air travel is still a viable and very safe option throughout America.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
After the collision and subsequent explosion, the airliner...
Cancel my flight. Yeah, I want to cancel. No, that's fine. Thank you. Sorry, guys. Of course, last week we saw major volatility on the stock market, mostly driven by Trump's tariff announcements, which he just couldn't seem to get straight. Wax on, wax off. Tariff on, tariff off. At least the president was generous enough to give his Wall Street buddies a heads up on the morning of April 9th, when he actually tweeted out, "Now is a good time to buy." Call me crazy, but that seems like the definition of insider trading. You know, that thing that if we did as regular citizens, we go to jail. But of course, presidents cannot commit crimes, and neither can Nancy Pelosi, evidently. At the end of the day, 93% of the stock market is owned by literally 8% of the American population. So I hope that 8% had a lot of fun using the bailout money they got from the 2008 recession to gamble with. On that note, let's take a quick commercial break and get a word from our sponsors.
I fart in your deco, please? Hi, I would like to try farting into a gentleman's deco, because it always intrigues me conceptually. Would the fart get sucked into it, or will it escape? If you let me fart in your dick hole, I will exchange with you several jars of fresh preserves I make this summer from Marion berries, who is in my backyard. 100% organic and is gluten-free. Thank very much and have a nice day. Can I fart in your dick hole, please?
Can I fart in your dick hole, please? And now it's time for rapid fire news break part of the show segment. Rapid fire. The UK Supreme Court has ruled that the legal definition of a woman shall not include trans women. Also, this just in, the sky is in fact blue. In other news, 4chan, you know Reddit's crackhead cousin, was hacked by a mysterious group yesterday in which it was revealed that QAnon was mostly posted by Mossad agents and CIA agents. And if that comes to a surprise to you, then you're fucking out to lunch, bud. And in other news, the World Health Organization has made moves to ratify their World Pandemic Preparedness Pact, which will, have binding stipulations for member countries. Unfortunately, the WHO has run out of money ever since Donald Trump decided to, turn the tap off so he could turn the tap on for his friends. But having said that, after living through one pandemic, I feel like we are in good hands with the WHO, because, they really handled the last one really, really good. It went really well. Did you hear about those bitches in space? And finally, the DOJ is requesting prosecutors to pursue the death penalty for Luigi Mangione, the CEO Slayer. I mean, that seems totally fair given that, that kid that shot up the mall in Texas, killed over 20 people. Well, he was able to appeal the death penalty, but it makes sense that they want to kill Luigi, because I think if you really break it down, the lives of 20, just regular people, that adds up to about one CEO. So I actually think it's a very fair request. Hey, fun fact, did you know that Nancy Pelosi's brother was friends with Luigi Mangione's father when he was mayor of Baltimore? I'm sure that's unrelated. Moving on. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined now with the correspondent of the Weekly Rant, Faust Chicho, all the way down in Georgia. Faust, I should just say out the gate here, there will be a tariff on this conversation.
Damn it. I should have known there was going to be a tariff on the conversation. Thank you for having me, John. I appreciate it, man. How's everything up there?
It's cold. It's snowing again here because we are stuck in perpetual winter.
Oh, my God.
How are things in Georgia? Sunny and nice, I bet.
Warm and nice, yeah. Not too shabby.
What's the climate like? You planning any trips up to Canada?
The furthest north I'm going to go is probably Pennsylvania.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Fair
man.
enough.
It's been
What
a minute.
do you think? What is the tariffs? Have they had an effect on your everyday life at this point? What do you think about all this tariff mumbo jumbo coming from the pumpkin spice latte?
All I see is prices continuing to rise. So the effect to me seems like just another complement and booster to the ongoing massive inflation that we're seeing. And the inflation is for a myriad of reasons. So let's send $150 billion to Ukraine so Zelensky can turn around and say, I only received 50. Like, where's the other 100? I'll tell you who has the other 100. The same people who had it, who consolidated all that money during the 2020 health crisis, let's call it.
So you're alleging that the government didn't spend the funds that were allocated, properly, and I find that outlandish. I know the governments are, pretty transparent with that sort of thing. How about this for an idea? What if we put a tariff on the interest? Would that help?
I mean, it might. I don't know. I think it's going to be a tug of war, and I think every move Trump makes is they're going to have their people trying to, make it null and void through their own actions so that it's all, pissing in the wind. Excuse my French. Well,
it's not like they did like blatant market manipulation or anything.
No, not at all. What, did you see the clip of Trump talking to he was like, I made you $4 billion this morning. I was like,
yes.
Like,
and
wait,
who was
what?
That
you
gentleman?
did what?
Who was the gentleman he was talking to? I can't remember, but it's not a good guy. Like,
it was like a typical Goldman Sachs guy or something.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
This is Charles Schwab. It's not just a company, it's actually an individual. And he made $2.5 billion today, and he made $900 million. That's not bad. He's in financials. I've always been.
Well, I hope that he used some of the bonus money that the taxpayers of America gave him during the 2008 recession to make those billions of dollars. Because if there's one thing I like to see, it's rich people getting richer while the prices of everyday commodities for people like you and me just continue to rise. Because that's called democracy. That's called capitalism, my friend.
Yeah.
On that note, with the tariffs, we're also seeing what some would, suggest could be a tightening of borders. I want to talk to you briefly about ICE and some of the things you're reading there. I saw that an American returning from Canada yesterday at the Vermont border was detained. Now, do you think it's a good thing that ICE has the power to detain people without explanation?
No. I mean, I don't think so at all. I think this is all a Trojan horse, that everything they did, and you can call me a conspiracy theorist all night, but everything they did under the Biden administration was to set this up and put, the orange Don in charge so that he can be the one who cleans it all up by putting real ID in there and all these, deportation. It's all just a further encroachment on civil liberties and rights of a human being in this country.
I think you nailed it on the head there, my friend, because frankly, this is what I was the most scared of. And me and you have talked about this. We talked about this throughout the last couple of years. But basically, I endorsed, Donnie back right before the election because I was worried about freedom of speech and freedom of mobility. And somehow we've ended up at the same place. It's almost like it doesn't matter who you vote for. It
truly is almost like it doesn't matter at all. And when people are going to wake up and realize that is beyond, I don't know what it's going to take. And you still have, at least half the people, if not more, who voted for him are just pointing out the small little inconsequential things that they say he's doing right and letting everything that he promised he would and wouldn't do, just no mention of it, and that's the problem with, becoming loyal to a party instead of to the people who you are voting with and for, we the people.
Well, I just can't wait for those Epstein files to come out. I'm sure Pam Bondi's sitting on those files. She's just ready and willing, keen to get those out. People have already forgotten about that. Moving on to one last topic of the week, my friend. We had that tragic helicopter crash into the Hudson.
Dude,
no Sully on board to save. There wasn't much saving to do because the entire rotor fell off the helicopter.
Have you ever seen anything like that? I've never even seen a video of a helicopter that essentially looked like it was frozen in midair and taken apart and then just dropped in straight down into the ocean. Like I've never seen anything like that. So I would love to know the mechanical, like somebody do the odds of what had to go wrong for that copter to plummet the way it did. Because I'm betting that the level of catastrophe it would take is a couple million to fucking one. Excuse my French.
Yeah, well, someone was, I talked to a former Air Force veteran, and he mentioned something called the Jesus nut, which is the most important part of the entire chopper. So that's something that doesn't get overlooked and really is like the number one thing they check. So apparently that wasn't even off. So somehow the rotor came off without the Jesus nut detaching. I mean, maybe it's just because, as the mainstream media said, the guy had to refuel. And I guess,
dude, I
guess one of the symptoms of refueling is that the entire helicopter just falls apart in midair.
First of all, they keep saying that he radioed that in, but we haven't heard his voice yet. So we have a report that he radioed in, and then 20 minutes later, they didn't hear from him, and they saw him falling from the sky. So first of all, I won't believe the report that, he said he needed gas. Oh, he must have ran out of gas then. Because it takes literally 2 minutes to land and get gas for a helicopter. Correct. So 20 minutes later, they weren't like, hey, I wonder where Johnny is. Like what? Wait, what? I mean, the storyline is ludicrous. I think there's more to the fact that there was a drone sighted. I think there's definitely, it's not a coincidence that he's the CEO of a company that just did a major deal, which literally stipulates a boycott of Israel, which is a big, big no-no in case you haven't noticed. There's now 36 states in America, which have made it illegal to boycott Israel. How do you claim to have a democracy and a freedom of market and choice when 36, I think it's 36, it's like half the states in America have got the politicians bribed enough and captured enough to pass laws that say you're not even allowed to boycott. You can't even spend and vote with your dollar. You're screwed.
I, for one, cannot wait for the proceeds of this channel and my business to go to Israel directly. I'm going to send Netanyahu a check personally, just so he knows I just, take it all. I'm like, take it all at this point, guys. Listen, this is Faust Chicho coming live from Georgia. Is there anything you want to plug, my friend? Where can people find you? Where are you popping? What are you working on?
If you've been following my man, then you probably have seen some of my posts. I'm the one Faust Chicho, all one word. It kind of looks crazy on the thing. And my podcast is Far Out with Faust. That's on YouTube and across all podcast audio platforms. So check it out. Our videos are very explosive and revealing. I'm doing a special on Bush, Clinton, and the crime family dynasties that they are, which is mind-blowing and jaw-dropping. So check out the channel and subscribe on YouTube. And thank you. Thanks for having me.
I can't wait to check those out, and I'll send you the bill for the extra tariff on the
Please do. Yes,
friend.
thank you. Appreciate you, brother.
And now it's time for the portion of the show where I just complain to you about what's been bugging me over the last week. We call it the Rant segment. A lot of people have been asking me about my opinion, my take on the awful tragedy which occurred down in Texas this past week. Obviously, I'm talking about the track meet where Austin Metcalf was fatally stabbed, lost his life in what, there's no other way to cut it, an awful, tragic situation. What's more tragic is the fact that the mainstream media, CNN and Fox News and everyone in between, seems just fine exploiting this young man's death in order to get views and curry favor with their political agendas. So when you ask me about my opinion on it, I refuse to play into these games because at the end of the day, I don't want to bring more suffering to the family of Austin Metcalf and frankly, Carmelo Anthony as well. Obviously, one is a violent offender and one is dead. These are both tragic instances of, lost American potential. But no, let's just try and focus on some sort of political agenda so that we can further our money-grubbing parasitic systems of democratic hacks, who represent us throughout America, throughout the world, frankly. CNN, Fox News, you should be ashamed of yourselves for exploiting the death of this young man and prolonging the suffering that his family, both families, have to endure now. The day we stop using tragedy to validate our political objectives is the day the democracy can blossom again, my friends. So yeah, that's my opinion on that. On that note, did you hear that Katy Perry went to space? Sorry, I blacked out there for a second. She went to space with a bunch of women. Hurrah, girl power. Bitches in space. Let's get them. Chicks in space, man. Here's my question. What good did that do? Like, for anyone? Science? Did we gain any new science knowledge? Any new knowledge of the stars? Is it gonna help promote space travel? No? Okay. Well, I guess it did accomplish this. There is one thing that it did accomplish. And I want to give a shout out to my man, Jeff Bezos here, right? Because frankly, I know Jeff Bezos has spoken at length about climate change and his concern for the environment. But did you know that this one little publicity stunt that they accomplished there last week, it did more damage to the environment than all of Taylor Swift's tours, Era Tours flights combined. So I think that's a home run. If you're trying to just speed run, the complete destruction of Earth, while spouting, environmental, holier than thou scripture, I think you nailed it, Jeff. And I can't wait to see who you send up in space next. Maybe you send Nancy Pelosi up there. I'll tell you one thing that gravity would have a lot to say about. Thank you for joining us tonight for the first edition of the Weekly Rant. And while we do hold ourselves to a high level of non-journalism here, I think it's important for me to say this before we end tonight. I have always agreed with, supported, and respect all decisions made by my government now and forever. Is it time? Okay. Have a good night, folks. Have a good night.